All right, guys, welcome back to another week of Half Serious. Again, why are you guys listening to this? You know, there's a bunch of other podcasts out there. I guess you guys are just as bad as us. This week, we're going to talk to Lindy Vogel, who is, as she describes it via the Meet the Editors, bitch-in-chief of Sweary Pants Media, or Sweary Mommy, if you guys look it up on Instagram. Basically, it's a publication where they put out a bunch of stories with an honest take on parenthood with, I don't want to say gallows humor, but just humor in general in it. Parenthood is not that clean and crisp iron look that Beaver the Cleaver would sell you, right? You guys that are parents know this stuff. But more than that, she's going to talk about how she discovered she was manic late in life, and then goes into the tale of how it ended up not defining her in a negative way. A lot of people use that as grit to accomplish the goals that they were hoping to accomplish prior to whatever bad event it was. And she did that. She was hoping since a child to be a writer, and she accomplished that and used the event of discovering that she was bipolar to propel her forward in this career path. But I'll let her tell her tale, and usual, I'll shut up and let her say it. Again, guys, don't forget to like, follow, share. What is all that generic stuff people say? All that crap, right? Just so we can keep this thing going.
So I was 20 when I got pregnant with our oldest, and I turned 21. That was my 21st birthday. Obviously not going to the bar. Don't think I would have been into it anyway to go to the bar, but yeah, like we were super young. In retrospect, when I moved to Seattle because that's where Joe got a job. My parents were like, we'll see how this goes. I feel like I would be a lot more worried about that now that I have a daughter who's approaching that age. I would be like, this is a kind of an insane plan. We lived in a hotel for 2 weeks while we looked for an apartment. Our oldest was born, and we had an apartment for 2 weeks before that. And I did not have a crib. So it's a miracle that we are here.
And look at how far you have come. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
That's a good success for it.
It's a testament to, I keep saying it, it's a testament to therapy and to radical, honesty. Because I say, like, would I be here today if I had known that forever ago? Like, all the shit that happened, I don't know, but I'm glad I am. And then you go, would Joe be here if he had known that he was marrying this person who was going to be like, more babies, more babies, less time for you, and have bipolar. It's hard. Yeah. It's hard to be a partner of somebody who has bipolar. So hats off to him too.
Yeah, but I guess you have been bipolar for a while, I guess.
Yeah,
I don't know exactly how that works.
That's
he
true.
Didn't know until recently?
Yeah, I was 38 when I was diagnosed. Usually you're diagnosed as a young adult, but you can break your brain anytime if you're susceptible to it, which is really interesting to me. I didn't know. Yeah. So yeah, I've been that, but also it's a lot harder with the more, things you have going on in your life and the more kids, it hasn't been easy to be my partner, I think, for a lot of reasons. So you can say that both ways. You can say, like, would we be here? And I'm glad we are. I think he would say the same. So.
Yeah, when I talk about success stories and marriage and stuff, and I try not to too much because I feel like every time I do, I jinx it. So I don't want to talk about it too much. But when I do think about success stories in marriage, your guys' is one of those. And not because it's perfect, right? It's just because it works and how you guys need it to work, and you love each other. I'm pretty damn sure you guys do. So
I like him a little.
He'll do.
He's all right. Yeah. Honestly, I'm obsessed with him. Well, thank you. No, totally. Like, I'm really proud of that too. And I totally hear you about jinxing it. Like, I got a tattoo. I have a tattoo now. That has like his birth flower and the kid's birth flower. And I'm like, is this one we're going to break up? Like, I got a fucking tattoo. It doesn't have his name on it.
Yeah. No, it's only if you get the tramp stamp. If you get that, then you're...
Hell yeah. I knew somebody who got that with her husband's name.
Are they still together?
Well, yeah, no, they are. That's true. Yeah. And then I got my my engagement ring resized. So I was like, oh, this is going to jinx it now. But so far, but for the grace of God.
I feel like if the hotel room didn't jinx it, then you guys are good.
Yeah. So thank you for hearing my traumatic story. I'm sure,
I'm all about some trauma. Mostly just because, I don't know. I like to share the stories because I think that it kind of takes the power away from them, right? And then a lot of people are like, oh, that's not as bad as what I thought it would be.
Yeah. No, you're totally right. Also, fun fact, to learn. I did not know that dudes, I won't say all dudes, but, he says that you can have someone suck your dick and not actually like them as a person.
Yeah.
What?
I've
I'm,
had
like, trying to imagine that.
I've had so many scenarios with dudes where I'm just sitting there and they've been my friends. I'm like, "Would you let this girl suck your dick?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I mean, like, they don't care.
They don't
I'm
like
like,
them.
don't
They
care.
think
Yeah.
they think they're a bitch and they're manipulative, but
Yep. And also,
you'd
I'm like,
still, like
that's dangerous. Do you know teeth are weapons?
for real, like, seriously, yeah, you could, like, do some real damage,
Yeah. But I
you
don't know.
know?
They're just like, it's a warm place. I'm like, what?
I'm like, "What's wrong with men?" I don't like to be that person who's like, "What's wrong with men?"
Yeah.
I'm not a girl's girl, I'm a guy's girl, and was raised by my dad, and my grew up with my dad and brother, and
Yeah.
friends are guys.
Yep.
Oh, no, before I, like, I'm sorry, I'm dominating this, but speaking of guy friends, so we'd been dating. Joe went to Big Tens. He was, I think, warming up. This was at IU that year, so I went down to see him swim. And my really good guy friend, happened to go there. His name's Ryan. He's not gay, but he's like a girlfriend. I would tell him some graphic shit. So I'm sitting
Yeah.
there with him on the bleachers, and Joe's dad's kind of far away, so he's not hearing me. And I'm like, oh my God, see that guy down there? That's my boyfriend. He's so fucking hot. Like, oh my God. And like really getting graphic about some things. Like, oh shit, it's amazing, And I'm like hanging all over Ryan. Like, I'm sure it looked bad. I'm sure it looked like, first of all, like I was into Ryan. And secondly, I was like, my God, his cock or whatever. You know what I mean? Like things that I should not have been saying. But it was like talking to a girlfriend, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Joe's dad wasn't going to hear. So Joe does his swim. I think he like didn't do that great in that one. I can't remember. Like I was super like, oh my God, you're amazing. But he was like pissed off about his swim or something. He comes up and he was really pissed. He comes up and he's like, hey, meet my mom. And she's sitting right behind us. So that was my first impression of the hooer that I looked like. And I swear to God, that wasn't me. Like I was very into Joe, and like I was excited that I was getting some. So I was telling Ryan all about this, and it was like, oh my God, hell yeah. So Joe's mom is very New England. She won't acknowledge, you know what I mean? So I have no idea what she must have been thinking at that moment, but I don't know that our
Wow.
relationship ever really recovered from that. I wanted to be like, I'm not a slut. I promise I'm not. I'm a dork, like that's not who I am. But
So she
that's how I
never
met her
spoke of
from.
it?
No, no, she never talked about it again. She's so, if you're
Yeah.
confronted with some like sex or
She
something
just zip.
earthy, she's just like, we're just not going to talk about that.
Yeah, that's
Way to make a good
unfortunate.
impression.
I want to ask about Sweary Mommy. Where did that, or wait, is that what it's called? Swear? I
Yeah.
forgot now. Okay.
Yeah. It's
Where
a
did
Medium
that even,
publication.
what is it?
It's a publication on Medium. Medium's like if you don't know Medium, it's like a platform for blogging, and you can make your own, publications. And it's like, it's like indie writers, so
Yeah.
I started it because I was just trying to write this damn story about my nervous breakdown and nobody wanted it. No freelance places, like Scary Mommy didn't want it. Like
Yeah.
the mommy blogs, and I was like, "No, I need to tell this fucking story, man. You wanna
Yeah.
hear it." Little did I know that some of it was like, "Oh, this is way too long for Scary Mommy. This is like, maybe I'm
Yeah.
thinking it's funny and it's not. Tone is off, whatever." So I started my own goddamn publication because I wanted to.
Nice.
There was nothing like it on Medium yet.
Yeah.
There were parenting publications and there were humor ones, but it wasn't gritty.
Yeah.
I feel like it wasn't super real.
Yeah.
And it's really real, maybe a little too real sometimes. But
I
yeah, that's how Sweary Mommy was born.
found it refreshing because I think
Thank
that
you.
even if, all of us aren't diagnosable and in parenting and stuff, it's still like you feel a little insane at some point. You're like, is it me? And I feel like you put it all out there in the comedy, the dark comedy
Thank
with
you.
it. I love it. It's right up my alley.
Dark comedy. Well, you come by it honestly with your job, and my dad's former military and my mom is an ER nurse, so there's
Oh,
like a
yeah.
lot of dark humor for
Oh, you're
coping.
brought up with it then.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. So you get it. And it's okay,
Yeah.
Your kid will probably be like, "That shit's funny." You know what I mean? If she isn't already, she probably will someday, and that's cool.
She's on
It's
the
a
cusp.
tool. Yeah. Yeah. How old
So
is she now?
she's 11.
My God, you're in the weeds
I know, it's
for a couple
scary.
years. It'll be okay.
So where do you hope Sweary Mommy goes? What are your
Well,
dreams?
my plan was just to start it. I have, some editors who work on it with me and then a bunch of writers, but I've been kind of like, lackluster with it lately just because of other shit going on. But that's a really good question. I would love to see it keep growing and be something that's like a more mainstream publication there on that platform. We have an Instagram that I do. I tried to hire a social media manager, but that shit's expensive.
Yeah.
They had about 2 zeros on the end of the price that they could have taken off, and maybe I could have afforded that. So I'd like it to get to the point where I can just hand that part off
Yeah.
and not be like, "Oh, they did a shitty job." I'm too retentive about how I want it to present that, I'm not
Yeah.
ready to just hand it off. So some of it's really time consuming in that way, and I'm not getting to write as much. Anyway, I hope it grows. I literally wanna have merch,
I'll go to some
but
of your merch.
yeah, man. I'll send you some. What do you want? You want a hoodie? You want a sticker?
I didn't know you already had it. I thought it was
I
something up
do.
and
Well,
coming.
I made some. It was not overwhelmingly popular, and that's fine. You know what I mean? I will totally send you whatever I can.
If I know the link, I'll buy it. You just gotta
Okay,
let me
cool.
know where it's at.
I'll put it back up. I think I took it down because I was like, I don't want to pay for an Etsy at this point because it's 10 cents or whatever. But I'm just like, I don't
Yeah.
need to.
It's something else to manage.
Yeah, exactly. No, I totally. Oh, well, yeah, that's one of the places I wanted to go is here in Santa Cruz. There's all these lands that I don't know anything about fucking business or merchandise and marketing or
Yeah.
apparel, nothing whatsoever, but it would be super cool if Sweary Mommy had merch that was in a store, which has been a thing. It's been a thing a little bit. Like there's a couple local like skateboard clothing stores that are sort of like they cater to the local teenagers, but also really to the soccer moms because that's
Who's
let's be
buying
honest,
it?
who's buying that shit. So yeah,
Yeah.
like people have bought the stickers. I've seen them around, which is really cool. Um, and I wanna do something like that where there's just like, sweet, people wear the shit, they wear the clothes.
All right, so I'm gonna get more particular with my goal question then. Where do you
Yeah.
want to be in a year with Sweary Mommy then? Just a year, not all time. What accomplishment? Just a year.
Damn. I need to put out some more like calls for pieces from people instead of just like the occasional stuff trickling in from some of my writers. I need to be more like, write a story about this. I got to this point earlier where I had like a regular schedule of publishing,
Mm-hmm.
like once a week, a piece would come out and I was on top of it and I was editing them and had like my other editors working on it. But I totally have gotten away from the regularness of it. So I want to be more disciplined about actually
Doing
following
it.
through with that shit and not just totally lazy.
I think that's a pretty good goal. Just
Yeah.
getting in the cadence of whatever it is.
Yeah, exactly. And I'd like to have more people write for me. Do you write? You want to write? Maybe.
Ugh, no, I suck at writing. I can write little bitty stories that go into a journal that nobody else reads.
You'd be surprised, but I get that it's totally it's just you have to love it, you as a parent, like there's so much have that you want to do, but you don't have time.
Yeah.
If anybody is hearing this and they want to write on Medium's super cool because just to plug it, like you don't even have to join it to read some of the stuff, but if you join it for like $5 a month, it's like literally people write about anything under the sun. You can just fucking read.
Awesome.
Yeah, and like you'd think it would be shitty because sometimes people don't have good grammar or whatever. Who cares? Their whole thing is it's not AI. They work really hard to keep bots and AI out of there, and I think that's huge. There's some
Yeah.
out right now that's just like,
Yeah.
thank you for that
Mm-hmm.
bunch of bullshit. So yeah, Medium's super cool. If anybody wants to write for me, I'd be stoked, especially if you have something to say about parenting. Something doesn't have to be funny, doesn't it just has to be real.
I know a lot of parents, and I can think of a couple of them that might be interested.
Yeah, man, send them my way. Tell them to DM me on Instagram or something.
I am. I'm going to put all your stuff in the bottom of this podcast, by the way.
Oh,
So I'm gonna try to. I still suck at this part, so I'm still learning. I'm gonna try to
That's
put all your links down in the show notes.
sweet. And likewise,
I still have some questions for you.
I was gonna do a shoot this afternoon, and then there's a coastal flood warning, so my photographer was like, "I don't really wanna go down to the with you right now, like, is it gonna be a tsunami?" So, I
Okay.
have no constraints. The kids are gonna be home in a few minutes, but they're just gonna go downstairs and turn on the TV.
Okay, well, I'll ask you a few questions then, if you want to go into the weeds with this.
Totally.
So you said you were diagnosed bipolar. You were what, 38? You said.
I was 38. Yeah, it was right before my 38th birthday that I had a manic episode, yeah.
Damn.
It was,
So
like, a year into the pandemic.
wow.
The year into the lockdown, I should say, so the kids hadn't been in school for, like, a year, and, like, drove me over the edge, I think.
Yeah, I was gonna say, did that propel it forward, like the timeline, or actually fracture? So that's when it actually happened. You think he might not have had one at all, had the
I don't
pandemic and stuff?
So there's a lot of speculation. At first, we weren't sure what the hell happened because I had just had a parathyroid. I have a genetic thing where I grow tumors. Long dumb story. I had my third parathyroidectomy, which made me hypoparathyroid, which means your calcium in your blood is too low, and that can affect you. You literally can go manic just because of that. And they were literally like, "Oh, shit, that's totally what happened," but in retrospect, there's other things, like I've had periods of intense depression, and, like, there was enough history that going back to some of my previous, history and talking to some of my previous therapists, because that is what they do. They're careful about it.
Mhm.
Because there's a lot of shame. They don't wanna be like, "You have this," and,
Yeah, no.
like, go through all that shit for nothing. So, yeah, in retrospect, that's true. That's what I have, and also, it's bipolar 1 because when you have mania, that goes into psychosis, whereas bipolar 2 is a little bit more amorphous as far as I can tell, where
So
it's like it can be less intense, that
yeah.
one.
What's because there's so many people like, "Oh my god, I'm so OCD, I like things in order," you know?
People, yeah,
Or like, so
overuse
with manic, people do it too, right? They're like, "Oh, sorry, I'm so manic right now." So what's an actual manic state?
Real mania is fucking terrifying. Well, first, what happens is it's hard to compare this to drugs because I've never done drugs and like literally ever in my life because I'm too square and never was offered pot until I was 39. Anyway,
Wow.
never. No, I'm a
Damn.
dork. Not to say it's a good thing necessarily to be doing a bunch of stuff, but anyway, never had the occasion for a variety of reasons. So I don't know if I really can compare this to drugs, but if I didn't know better, or if I were going to speculate, I would say it was like being on ecstasy at first because I went outside and stared at the sun and was like, literally, like, realizations are dawning on me. Like, I decided I was not the Virgin Mary, but mitochondrial Eve, if you're familiar with you took some science, you
Yeah,
took
it's exercise.
some evolution, stuff and some amount of chemistry and biochemistry. So, like, it's funny because some people have a religious delusion when they're manic, and it's like, "I'm Jesus, you
Mhm.
know, I'm the Virgin Mary," but no, I just mitochondrial Eve, like I was the secular version of whatever the hell. Very
I like
special.
it. I like it.
Yeah, yeah, it was awesome. But yeah, no, I was and then this is the sad part is my kids were super traumatized by it because they were like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
And but then you kinda descend into fear, and I'm not sure why. I think maybe Joe, I think, was there because he was like, "My wife is acting a little weird. I'm gonna stick around." He was like, I'm gonna work from home," which was wise.
Mhm.
Because right when this got really acute, he was like, "Okay," trying to call the doctor and figure out what was happening. They were like, "I don't know, call EMS." So literally that's happening and I'm starting to, I think, pick up on, "Uh-oh, this something's weird,"
Yeah.
and started to get freaked out and literally decided that human traffickers were trying to lure my kid. Like, it just went completely left. So I
Mhm.
literally ran into our second born's room, and he was in the middle of taking an online quiz. Like, this is all, retrospectively, I can say this. I closed his laptop. He was like yelling, like, "Mom, I'm taking a quiz." and threw it out the window.
Oh, shit.
Because I was like, just terrified that you can't imagine the terror. Like
Yeah. It's very real.
what I think sort of is happening is that your brain kind of like goes through this like massive whatever the hell, and you make up reasons to match the feelings. So all I could think was like something fucking terrible is happening, and that's what my mind came up with, right?
Mhm.
I thought my uncle was in the CIA, like all kinds of shit, and that our car was a spaceship. Like I was saying, wild shit, and got naked. There was. It's not that I'm opposed to nudity. I just have to say, like, that's
Mm.
fine.
You just didn't.
We're not in front of my
Yeah.
teenagers. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Wait, so this is all happening, all those different feelings and everything is happening at that same night?
a couple days.
That's
Oh,
a
and
lot.
the best part. So Joe, he's like he's not a like rash kind of dude. He's like, well, let's see how this goes. But some of it, I'm like, you were like just kind of waiting to see what was gonna happen. I said, and I can vaguely remember saying this, but it made sense at the time. I said, I think. I did turn to Joe's, was like, maybe at dinner at our house, I think we should all look into our mother's vaginas because that's where we came from. And Joe was like, I want to look at my
That is the point where he's like, this might be.
He was like crossed the line into like, this is fucking weird. In
So
the fun
it wasn't the car spaceship thing that put him over the line?
No, right? I know. I'm like, all right. But yeah, like there was no question because I've been estranged from my mom for many years. And that was even if there was some plausible reason I wanted to see my mom's vagina, like he was like, that's not a thing. That's not real. So poor Joe, keeping it together. Uh, yeah, like mania is this euphoria, at least how I experienced it. And then you kind of like shit spiral into being terrified. Then Joe brought me to the local hospital and we were in the ER and I was like, saying crazy shit to the doctor and he was like, oh, okay, this is all in triage. So Joe goes to like register me or whatever at the desk and I tried to run out of the fucking hospital like in a gown. Like I can't even explain why. It just like you are convinced of danger, what have you. So you go from like this insane high to an insane low. And then they actually were the memory is spotty after that. I don't know if you want to hear the rest of it, but
Yeah, I do.
basically like they Joe, it was like we were still in lockdown and we didn't really have a lot of support like childcare wise, although his boss literally is an amazing dude. He sent his own personal nanny to help us while Joe was in the hospital with me, which means
Oh,
everything when I think about it because,
yeah.
it was,
That's all.
yeah, it was fucking, it's not like we were going to bring 6 kids to the hospital and mom's batshit crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, so basically, Joe had to go back after I got like admitted and they did all kinds of shit to see if I had a stroke and I don't know. They were trying to figure it out, but what I remember at the hospital was sort of coming to a realization that I was tied to a bed and just like I had like a babysitter in the room with me. They don't just let you be by yourself when you're like going through this shit, which is good.
Good choice, yeah.
I was fucking sobbing and like decided that Joe was being molested. Like there's as an
Yeah.
adult, like just all these horrifying scenarios to match the sensation in your body and brain,
That makes sense.
Yeah. So then after like a few days, they tried giving me this an antipsychotic. That's maybe it was a day in or something like that. And immediately I was fine. It was like, they were like, we've never seen that before. Usually, like, we don't even fucking know when the person's going to be sort of normal again. He had gone home the first night of this and just like fucking sobbed because they were like, I don't know what's going to happen. Like, maybe she's like this now.
Yeah, that'd be fucking devastating to be like, is she gone?
Yeah, exactly. And God only knows what he was trying to tell the kids, like, mom's sick. Good God. I would want to be in that position ever for so many reasons. But anyway, I started on a medication and then like it was this whole odyssey of trying to find like the right cocktail of meds, which is what tends to happen because stuff is like still dicey for a while. You're okay, but you're not. And you start therapy and all kinds of shit, and psychiatry and therapy. And it took like a good 6 months before I really stabilized enough because you crash after that mania. I was like hibernating mode and in bed for like 6 months because there was such an anxiety. I have never experienced anything like that. I've never had like anxiety like that, but I was afraid to get out of bed.
Man.
So literally we had this nanny, that was taking care of our youngest couple of kids and
Yeah.
driving them everywhere. And I had to like re-enter society, so to speak. Your executive function's really fucked up. So, that's all parenting is all executive function, I feel like. Where you're like, what are we gonna have for dinner? Look at all these papers that came from home from school. Like I could not execute any of that. It's really hard to describe. I also couldn't hardly read to the kids, which is one of the things that I like the most. It's probably my favorite thing about parenting. So there was a lot like, the kids all felt abandoned. I was super irritable. It was just hellish, and Joe was just trying to keep it all together with a full-time job and basically doing all the parenting when he would come home from work. And yeah, I had to basically like relearn how to fucking think and plan tasks. It very much like a stroke, not motor skills wise, but some of the that they give you, you're like an old person moving very slowly and like zonked out. There's all these like sedatives and shit that they try with anxiety. And yeah, just it's hard. It's very hard to get the right meds, but I think that most people it takes a little less time. It took a long time for me.
So it was 6 months before you felt like you were somewhat back
Yeah,
to what your new normal is, I guess?
right. It was about that long, maybe a little less, but that was when some other crazy shit happened that our neighbor was up in Bonnie Doon, up on the mountain, tried to put like this really violent sex offender, like rent her house to him. And this wasn't like a garden variety, like child molester. Not that that's okay. The court had to approve his placement. He was a bad dude.
Yeah,
He
that's a
was
big deal.
tier 3, like he was a violent rapist and then he did it again. There
Mm.
are 2 different sentences and he escaped from a prison work release program.
See, I'm all about
And
cutting somebody's dick off when it comes to that, because
yeah,
that's a weapon at
I
that point.
used to think it changed my politics. I was like, "Oh, we can be compassionate." Fuck no. That dude can like get hit by a cement truck,
Yeah. Yeah, there's a
So
line. Kids are the line.
yeah, I was like, okay, so the judge, fuck this lady, she's an idiot, but approves this placement of this dude, and there's only going to be supervision for him for like the first month. He's going to be
Mm.
by himself in this fucking luxury house. Your tax dollars at work, right?
Yeah.
So that he doesn't have to stay in the mental hospital where he belongs. Super high risk of reoffending, and my daughter's going to be walking by every day, and I'm going to
Mhm.
be there in the house. Like, I don't have
Mm.
guns. I don't wanna have guns. I mean, there's probably merits to having guns, but I do not want
Yeah.
guns or, like, a crazy guard dog, like, I wanna deal with that, and
Yeah.
that was the whole point of living up there was that it's, like, relatively safe, relatively peaceful. So, like, that was happening. It went back into the really stressful time, and we weren't sure if the placement was gonna go through, and we were fighting that in court. So it probably took longer for me to stabilize than it otherwise would have, because that was just like a fucking shitball from outer space.
Yeah.
So,
How
yeah.
how did you explain it to your kids? Did you finally, like, sit them down and say, "Hey, listen, this is what happened," or anything like that?
It took a long time because it was really hard to accept the diagnosis for me. Like, it took a long time, for me to even come to terms with it and, like, sort of first I needed to, like, just be able to be functioning in their lives, and that was, like, step 1, and just
Yeah.
to be there for them at all emotionally. And I didn't w the weird thing about bipolar is when you go through this stuff, you actually don't have a lot of awareness of how you're being and how you're affecting other people. You're just like, "What's everyone's problem?"
Mhm.
"Why is everybody so mad at me?" 'Cause, you're being awful to people, like, that's not how you usually act. And so, yeah, there was a really, like, good amount of time that the kids were like,
Yeah.
"How's mom gonna be?" Like, one of our kids was like, "Is she gonna ever be okay?" So, yeah, I'm trying to remember exactly how we addressed that. A lot of it was Joe going like, "Okay, she had this thing happen. We're trying to figure out what happened, like whether it was related to her surgery or if this is a psychiatric thing that she's dealing with." And so he's a really like maternal, calming presence. Thank God for it. He's really is the backbone, you know? So I would have to talk to him more about how that part kind of got finessed with the kids and that they started to maybe trust me a little bit more as I stabilized. And it was still really hard for a while. They were just like, didn't know what to expect, didn't know which me they were going to get, you know, and didn't really know what exactly had happened because I didn't know. I was like, I can't be crazy. You know, I can't be this because it's awful. Oh, and I don't want that to be true, so it's not.
Yeah. And also to be diagnosed that late in life is odd. Well, I mean, I think it's odd. I
Yeah,
don't know.
it is weird, and yeah, the fact is that it can happen organically from extremely low calcium, which was it frankly, it was probably both. It was probably, like, the insane amount of stress of Zoom schooling a bunch of kids, and we were foster parents that previous year to a really traumatized child. That was the amount of stress. I'm not saying, you know, I don't wanna put people off being foster parent,
Yeah.
but a teenager in a gang, I didn't know
Mm.
she was we didn't know, you know, because they don't tell you that. But yeah, that was
Yeah.
really fucking stressful, and you could just feel it. Like, I could feel it in my body, and there
Hmm.
was no outlet during that lockdown time where I could just get the hell away and just, like, clear my head with exercise. There just wasn't an outlet.
Yeah.
So it was just, like, building and building and building and building, and then I had my surgery, and it's like an assault a little bit to your brain if your calcium goes low, is my understanding. So all of the above, probably.
Did you do you think that there was like coming on at some point? Now that you know, do you see things from your past where you're like, that was a sign that maybe I should have paid more
Yeah.
attention to?
Yeah. Well, some of the periods of my life where I had really intense depression, some of the intensity I had as a child, like, I would definitely freak the fuck out about stuff, which all kids do.
Yeah.
But for me, it was like I had, like, a short and I that's a stereotype. You have to be careful not to be like, "Well, that kid's bipolar."
Yeah.
Or ADHD or whatever. I don't have ADHD that I know of, but it's you gotta be careful about labeling, but probably, yeah. And then, you know, when I had that intense breakup with Joe, like, I was, you know, like, take off my top at the beach, you know, and
Yeah.
it's not that I wouldn't have considered that, it was just, like, what you find yourself doing, you're kind of disinhibited from what you would usually do, and no sooner does the thought come into your mind than you're doing it. So that happened, and so,
Yeah.
like, in fact, I'm like, in times that you're really struggling, that kinda shit can happen. You
Yeah.
have to laugh though, because it's like, oh my god. If you don't laugh, you'll be really feel really helpless about it, you know?
Yeah.
You can have times where you feel helpless, and you can have times when you laugh and everything's okay. It's acceptable, but I'd rather be a little bit, you know, take the ego out of it a little more and be like, "Yeah, it's okay to have fucked up shit," you know?
Yeah.
Kids need human parents. They don't need perfect parents. I don't know if you've heard I don't know who said that, somebody wise, but they do. They do. They need you even if you're real fucked up.
Hmm.
They do. In
Yeah.
fact, they need you to model that it's okay to be to have limitations. Because that's if you don't model that, they're not gonna accept themselves for their limitations, you know?
Yeah. Especially now, I guess, with all the social media perfection of everything.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, it's hard because that is a social outlet for them. You don't wanna not let them do it, but it's also like it's a one-way street to some body image shit and some,
Yeah.
like, addictive screen tendencies and potential bullying and all kinds of not great things. So,
Well, I have another question for you, and then I'll stop asking you questions because I feel like I'm hugging your whole night.
you can ask any things you want.
Do you think that you would be able to? I'm going to say empire because that's what I feel like it's going to be. Do you think that you'd be able to build this future empire of Sweary Mommy had that not happened?
Oh, no. Oh, no, no, no. No, I was not motivated. I used to write a little, but I was and thank you for your vote of confidence in me. That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
hell yeah. I know you. You fucking got
No,
it.
I wasn't motivated necessarily, like, I did a little freelance writing, but I was never gonna, like it's the crux of the book, and it's the crux of the publication was just that I wanted to talk about this, and I never really like, something even, like, talking on a podcast or, going to, like, some author event, that would have been, like, completely out of the question before this for me just because of being introverted and being, like, intimidated by things, and it's let me, just let go a lot of that shit and just be like, "There's a reason." It's a new purpose because I want people to not feel as alone as I did when this all went down. I was terrified that I wouldn't be able to parent my kids anymore with this and that it would be I didn't know anybody that I was desperate to find some foothold, fingerhold on how could this not be a complete shit show forever.
Oh,
So I want people to talk about imperfect parenting and find some humor or find some whatever they feel and process the stuff and talk about it, write about it.
yeah.
But yeah, thank you for
Well,
I hope it keeps doing its thing and I'm into it. You're helping me have renewed enthusiasm.
it's good. And I know a lot of fucked up parents that love it. So I'm gonna promote it.
It's okay. People are like, "Oh, are you saying that people who have severe, mental health stuff like schizophrenia or bipolar, are you saying, like, they should just go for it to have kids?" Not necessarily, no. I'm saying, like, if you have kids and you find out you have this, that it's not all over, and it doesn't mean that you necessarily can't have kids, even if you don't yet, like, these are things that can be really debilitating, but they also, if you have the right support, you can do, especially if you know that you're not gonna be the best parent that you've ever seen. It's just that's not realistic, but you
Nobody
can
ever
give it
is.
enough. You can yeah. Well, some people, it's, like, nauseating, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
But I always
And that
question those people. I'm like, there's something going on.
well, yeah, absolutely, like, there's something going on, and if there's not, then, like, what the fuck, you know?
Yeah.
But, yeah, no, you just have to be realistic about, the community support, family support. It can be really isolating to have something like that, so it's extremely challenging to get yourself sort of set up to be successful in, like, nurturing and supporting your own kids. Yeah, I want people to know more than I ever have had a mission in my life. I wanna share about this and hopefully help people feel like it's not at the end of the world. It's not the end of them. It's not the final word on them,
Yeah.
really.
I think you found humor again in it. And to me and my experience with everybody, that seems to be the first step of like, hey, it's cool. We can laugh about it now. We can move on.
Yeah,
We can function in normal society.
yeah,
My grandmother, who I'd never met in person, she's schizophrenic, but it was a up and down thing on her parenting, and that was also a very long time ago. I feel like
hard.
now
Yeah,
with medication and stuff and monitoring, it's different, and there's more
right.
outlets. I've seen the downside of it, and it's nice to see there's better support systems now for that.
Absolutely. There's still a lot of stigma, but it's a
Yeah.
little bit more enlightened. Yeah, there's a strong family history of some of this stuff. And holy hell, that would have been way worse to have, something like this happen when you were like 100, even 50 years ago, because they're like, well, you're going to the fucking
Mhm.
farm.
Yeah, here's a
You're all
lobotomy.
yeah, here's a lobotomy, here's a sterilization procedure, because
Yep.
God knows you shouldn't be contributing to the gene pool. And, yeah, we're just not gonna talk about you anymore,
Mhm.
like, it's tragic.
Or
So I'm
just
very
burned at the
fortunate.
stake 'cause they would have thought you were a witch, you know?
Yeah.
Any
Yeah,
all of them.
that's you're the fucking like, a whole religious element to it sometimes
Yep.
where people like also, you're this still happens to some extent, is you're wrong. You are the one who's in the wrong. Even if you're discussing something and you're completely what most people think of as, like, even keel at that time and you're rational and you're just, like, putting down a boundary with somebody that's hard to do.
Mhm.
People are like, "Well," it's like this character assassination kind of where they're like, "Lindy's bipolar," and that's all they have to say. So that is hard. That's the other side of being transparent about it is that people will do that. But I'd rather that if my kids are predisposed to this, which there's a genetic component to it, that if and when somebody is affected and that one of them has to deal with it, unfortunately, I want there to be a different world that that is friendlier and gentler with people.
That's a really good goal.
Yeah, man. No, totally. Everybody's shit like this. You wouldn't even believe how many people have reached out to me and been like, "Yeah, this happened to me. I never would have known," or "This happened to my parent," or "This happened to my grandparent," like, shit, man. We do need to talk about it. We do need to de-shamify it, and we need to be
Hell yeah.
human and let ourselves be human.
So if people do want to contact you about this stuff, then you just want them to message you on Instagram.
Yeah.
What else are you on platform wise, or is it just mostly Instagram?
It's mostly Instagram these days just because that's where I'm doing, like, a lot of the stuff with the publication. I am on some other stuff, Threads, maybe X or whatever, but it's like I'm so, like, lackadaisical about checking them. It's like voicemail, right? You can do a voicemail, but I'm not gonna get it for a month, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I'll be like, I'll check it later.
Yeah, hell no, I'm not gonna do that. So yeah, probably Instagram DM, like if somebody feels like following me or whatever. And if anybody ever shares something with me that's confidential about themselves or whatever mental health stuff, I will always honor that and not be like, this fucking person, this is what they did and this is the shit that they do. I would never betray that confidence. So you can share with me if you feel like it.
That's fucking awesome. And I
Cool,
love
man.
this. I love where you're going with this. I'm really fucking excited to see where it goes. I'm gonna check on you. I mean, I'm gonna check on you before this, but in a year, I'm be like, all right, where are we at?
You're like, put up or shut up.
I feel like
Well, cool,
you
man.
need a coach on the side of the pool going, hurry it up.
No, but and likewise, this is so cool what you're doing. I'm really into this too. Like, tell me what you want. What are your goals?
Shit, my goals to make it to 100 episodes, and then just as long as somebody's got a story to tell, I'll keep doing this unless it
Yeah.
starts stealing too much time from my kid. Now this is just a fun way for me to talk to people, you know? Otherwise, I'd
Yeah.
probably just continue to, like, close my door more and more the older I get, and then just end up, like, on my couch, with a blanket for the rest of my life, so this is
Uh,
my way of trying to be an extrovert continually.
no, that's really cool. And I think there's actually a lot of like commonality here, like with what you're doing and what I'm trying to do, because it's telling a story is important. We need more
Mhm.
connection, less these days.
Yeah, I feel like the generation, I'm not gonna shit on a generation because everybody's had their own troubles, but I feel like our generation, our duty is to kind of break the stigma with, the traumas and the any kind of mental issues and stuff that comes along with a lot of that. So that's kind of what I'm trying.
Yeah, and amen to that. I gotta just give you unsolicited advice about parenting. Like, don't
Hell
fall
yeah.
into I am not intensively parenting my child every moment that she is present. That's a trap. She needs to see you doing things that you love, even if she's like in the other
Yeah.
room and you're talking on podcasts. Like, that is important. We cannot just disappear. No, it's not good for her if you do that. So
Yeah.
keep it up as long as you want to. And
You're right.
she's gonna internalize that, like, it is okay for me as a grown up someday. This is her talking to herself. Even if I have kids, like, that doesn't mean that I am not worthy of things that I love.
It's that everlasting parent guilt, man. It's hard. Ugh.
Fucking A. You have the hardest number of kids, by the way. One kid is the hardest because they expand to take every ounce of you. And if there's siblings, there's a little bit of a buffer, I think.
Yeah, she keeps
You're different.
asking for another one, and I'm like, I'm done. I can't have another
Yeah,
one right now.
right? No, totally. And it's funny to do that. Like our youngest was like, I was misunderstanding him because I was totally like freaking out. He was like, I want a baby brother. And I was like, you are the baby brother. There's no baby brother. I'm sorry.
I
You
already
can have a
got you for the other
squishmallow.
one.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, there's so much guilt. There's guilt about siblings or not siblings. She's gonna be fine. She has a good mom. But
Thanks.
I'm sure that she's doing better than you think and you could ever imagine.
I mean, we're gonna fuck them up a little bit, right? That's what we're supposed to do.
It is part of our job because then if you don't, the world's gonna just roll them.
God, yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
We're doing our kids a really big disservice if everything is bubble wrapped.
Yeah. Well, is there anything that you want to part with? Anything else you want to say that I haven't asked you, or any knowledge drop?
I just want to say thank you and thanks for being super supportive and thanks for being open to the foul language that is so important, I think. I mean, I don't know about you, but I cannot speak in complete sentences unless like there's swearing because it just doesn't work.
Mm-mm.
And I don't know.
There's not enough emotion in it. I'm like, we need some pop.
There's good reasons for swearing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a developmental milestone.
Yep, agreed.
Yeah.
Well, I'll drop all the Sweary Mommy stuff, or I'll try to, in here. And so excited. It's so good.
Oh my God.
Congratulations.
You're so good. Thank you. Thank you. I hope I get to talk to you soon. Let's plan a thing.
Well, we're going to plan an update. Like I said, if this thing's still going, I'll be like, all right, let's have her back on.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I'll be like, I haven't done shit.
Good. Yes. Either way, we're going to talk.